Welcome to episode 23 of the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Thanks for tuning in again, folks. Hope you're having a great week out there. Some beautiful weather here in St. John's. Oh my God, it's been so warm and delightful. It kind of cooled off a little bit this week, but looking like it's going to be another great weekend. Going to be a bit of fun this weekend, throwing a little diaper party for my brother. It's his first kid, so it's going to be a blast. Got a bunch of his buddies coming up, and it's going to be a bit of fun. We're going to have a little kind of a beer Olympics, I think, is what's going on, and it should be a good laugh. So looking forward to that the weekend. Hope you guys are all doing great. Want to say a big thanks to Adam and Travis last episode for coming on. A couple of dear buddies of mine. I mean, they're about ready just to open up this business. So if you're in the market for wood stoves and barbecues and all accessories that go along with those things, make sure you do check out Adam and Travis at the Woodshed. Got another really neat episode coming up this week, guys. I was joined by Maria Cherwick, who is just a lovely, lovely human being. I got to meet Maria probably just a few months back. I mean, I kind of met her in passing a couple times, but never really got to know her or hang out with her. And we did a gig together at Shamrock City. She actually filled in for Alex, who was away working with the Dawnies, and Maria came down and played fiddle, and she was so sweet, and she is so sweet, and an incredible player. I mean, she is just phenomenal. She really fits in. I mean, she can just pretty much play anything. She's very versatile, and just a real treat to deal with. I mean, we were all just having like super laughs. Felt like I'd known her forever, and she just put out a new compilation. I mean, she wrote a 15 or 16 original fiddle tunes and did a sheet music book along with it that comes with a bunch of illustrations and stuff. Really neat concept. I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to have her on to chat about it and to figure out what she's been up to and all the neat things that she does, because she's super busy and really active in the music scene here in St. John's, and not originally a Newfoundlander, but she is basically one of us now. So make sure you stick around for that one coming up in a little bit. What's been going on over here? Been gigging a lot. It's been crazy. A lot of solo stuff. Pretty thankful for the work. Very thankful for the work. I mean, I can't be knocking it after such a long time, but it's a different beast. It feels like now. I don't know if it's after the hard reset of COVID, but it's been a grind. I've been real grind this summer. Just knocking down gigs every night. But it is what it is. That's the nature of the beast, and happy to be back to be gigging for sure. Got a couple gigs coming up with the Dawnies at the end of August. The 20th, 21st, we're at Shamrock City, and the 27th and 28th, we are at O'Reilly's. So both weekends going to be fun. The 27th, 28th looks like it's going to be this modified version of the George Street Festival, which is going to be interesting in itself. As I'm recording here today on August 10th, there hasn't been any drops of any artists or bands who are set to perform, from George Street itself. But I did see that the Arkells posted that they are going to be closing out the festival on the Monday night. So that's always exciting. Arkells are a great group. I've seen them a couple times here on George Street and all over. I've seen them in Toronto. I've seen them in... Yep, that's pretty much it. I've definitely seen them. I think I've seen them 4 or 5 times now. I actually remember seeing them one time at Junctions. This was during the Junos. I mean, they were nobody then, and I seen them at Junctions, and I remember watching the band, and I was super close to the speaker, and I don't know. I didn't know them, and I was just so close to the speaker. It was so loud. I remember walking out being like, ugh, wasn't big on the band. And the very next day, I actually caught them because I was working at Brody Malloy's at the time in the bar, and I caught their sound check, and I was like, damn, this is the same band I seen last night. Like, holy shit, these guys are good. And I caught the show that night, and I was pumped. I mean, they're a wicked live band. They are so energetic. Even if you don't know the songs, they just get you singing. They get you active. You're dancing. I mean, they put off a really great show. They know how to really work a crowd. So I think that's going to be a great show for George Street Festival. Will be very interesting to see what other acts are coming. I mean, on such short notice. So hats off to the committee for pulling something together. Should be a great time. caught a bunch of the Olympics. Funny thing with the Olympics, I mean, I always go into the Olympics thinking, I don't care about the Olympics, and then I just end up catching myself every single night watching it for like 8 hours. It's just one of those things that, I mean, it kind of unites the world in a way, and it's it makes you kind of be proud to be a Canadian when you're watching certain moments. A couple of big highlights for me were, I mean, the skateboarding added this year. I thought that was really, really cool. Something very unique to the Olympics. And as somebody who's watched skateboarding, my whole life, I mean, it's kind of cool to see that really get some love in the Olympics and get to see those guys perform. And you get to see that's the thing with the Olympics is like you end up watching random events like you're watching. I mean, I was watching ping pong, and it's China versus Japan in ping pong, and I'm like, if this is just on a regular day, you're never watching it. But because it's the best competitors in the world, to me, that is very interesting. So, I was, I thought the Olympics were really, really neat. It's kind of weird that it was, overnight, but it didn't really matter because you kind of get up and catch what you wanted in the mornings and stuff. But yeah, some highlights, definitely the skateboarding was really, really neat. I thought Damian Warner, who he won the decathlon. I mean, the decathlon, like this guy's the best at all of these things in the world, a Canadian guy. For some reason, I didn't overly feel like he got as much love as, I don't know, some of the other athletes. I think to me, the decathlon, it's the epitome of the Olympics. I mean, you compete in so many different events, and, it's based on a point system. So I thought that was really neat to see him pull that through. It was a big win for Canada. I had to say I love that. And another huge highlight was the Canadian women's soccer. I mean, that was just so entertaining to watch. Like, I mean, if you know me at all, obviously I'm a diehard. I love the Jays, and I love baseball. I love the Leafs, and I love hockey. I mean, I love the Raptors, and I love basketball, and I love the Green Bay Packers, and I love football. I love watching golf. I love watching tennis. I mean, I'm pretty good with sports. Soccer's always been kind of lower on the poll for me. It's not. I don't know. I never played it growing up, so I know there's a lot more to the game than probably I even realized, but it's not something that has always been super entertaining for me. But man, oh man, that was so fun. I missed the Canada-US game, but I made sure I was actually at my cabin Friday morning because they had moved the game because of the heat over in Tokyo, and I set my alarm and got up for it, and it was so entertaining to watch. I mean, that was probably one of the most entertaining things I've watched in sports in such a long time. The game, they were down 1-0. They came back. It went to extras, went to kicks. The kicks were so entertaining. I couldn't believe it. Normally, I would be like, oh, I can't believe this is going to decide a gold medal on these penalty kicks. But it had me at the edge of my seat. I mean, so hats off to the Canadian women's soccer team. What a treat. I mean, Sinclair's there. I mean, she's been at the Olympics, I think, 4 times. So I thought that was, just great to see those girls really pull it off and really put Canadian soccer on the map. I thought that was really great, I got to say. What else did I see? The Winter Olympics, they announced John Cooper is going to be the head coach of Team Canada. Whether that has NHL players or not, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how that all works out. But nice to see that Coop, head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, got that head coach position, which he deserves, which kind of gives me the feeling that there's possibly going to be NHL players. And, I mean, if that happens, I actually cannot wait. I think that's going to be so sick. Can you imagine seeing McDavid and McKinnon playing together? You know what I mean? Guys like this, it's going to be just absolutely bananas. Been watching a ton of baseball. Obviously, I mean, there's not much else going on. Plus, I'm also a big Jays fan, but I obviously have been watching a lot of baseball. Man, this team is starting to pull it together. I got to say, if you've been watching the Jays, you are definitely feeling it as well. Ever since the Jays have finally came back to Canada and they're playing out of their home park there at Rogers Centre, it really has 2015, 2016 vibes. To me, I had a little post on Twitter about it the other day, but it's exciting to watch. I mean, these guys are just hitting bombs. They're pulling games out. They're coming back. I mean, they're on a huge winning stretch now. It's too bad we couldn't have pulled together some of those games earlier on in the season, but I mean, that's how it goes. So really looking forward to catching, the the latter half of this season and seeing if the Jays can put together a solid run. I think that'll be great to watch, and we've really got the pieces there. Barrios was a great addition on the mound there, so I'm looking forward to just catching the end of the season, seeing if these young guys can really put it together, because I think they have the pieces in place there now. What else is going on here? Oh, the masks are the mask mandate has been removed here in Newfoundland as of today. I mean, I went out today. I did a little bit of ran a couple errands and did a couple things. Seems like everybody was still wearing masks, so you know what I mean. I'm kind of psyched on that, to be honest with you. Not everybody's double vaccinated, and it's just it's for the better of the people right now. It's maybe a little too early, and I don't know who's to say, but. I just hope that you don't see anybody out there kind of doing any mask shaming, because that would be a shame. Just let people kind of just, if they want to wear a mask, why not? If they don't, so be it. I mean, that's the rules now, but that would be a bit weird. That about kind of does it for me. I mean, I'm busy playing a lot, doing a lot of solo stuff. If you want to know where I am, you can find me. I'm on the street there somewhere pretty much every night of the week. And like you say, looking forward to those Dawnies gigs, because they're always a bit of fun. Got a fun Tuesday gig on the go these days as well. Doing 9:30 at Shamrock with my good buddy Mark Manning and Rum Ragged. We're gonna be doing those every Tuesday, pretty much right up until the end of September. So at least anyway. So that should be a laugh. So if you're around on Tuesday, come on out and then check us out. I'm gonna throw it over to Maria there now, and I had a great chat with her. I mean, she's super interesting, really, really sweet, and incredibly talented. So make sure you stick around for a great interview with Maria Cherwick. And I'd like to welcome Maria Cherwick to the podcast. How you doing, Maria? Thanks for joining me today.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I mean, how's everything been going? I know you've been pretty busy. I mean, I don't want to dig into too much right away, because I do obviously have a bunch of questions for you. I know you got a new CD out and you're super busy. I know you're with the folk festival, and I know you're got a bunch of bands on the go, but generally, how's it been going? I mean, have you been a little bit busier this summer than what's going on, especially with COVID, obviously related?
Absolutely, yeah. It seems like things are sort of slowly coming back to life. I've been really lucky, honestly, to have several regular gigs, like throughout the whole year. So I've suffered, I think, less than some people, but it's sure nice to see things kind of opening up a bit more, and more of my bands are kind of making long-term plans, and planning months in advance, which is something that we haven't done for a long time because everything was so up in the air.
Exactly. No, and you nailed it. I mean, it's been so weird. I mean, I think this might be, I should have checked this before we started recording, but I think this is episode 22 or 21 of these podcasts that I've been doing. And I mean, originally when I had started, the questions I was asking people was like, what's the plans for the future? And everyone's like, don't got any. Cause I mean, how do you plan for the future with a global pandemic on the go? So you're right. It is nice to see that kind of, come into fruition a bit. Everything's starting to move a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it was funny because, where things were so good in Newfoundland, like people started to get a bit braver, and like I actually was booking a bunch of stuff in like February and March. I was supposed to go on tour, and the symphony had just started having live audiences again. And that's when we had our second lockdown. So yeah. All of a sudden, like just as we dared to, hope a little bit that things were coming back, it all got shut back down. So I think I have more faith this time.
Yeah, I think so.
It feels like things are going in the right direction,
especially with the, the vaccine rollout. I mean, it seems like we're definitely in the right path. I know you recently got your second shot, and you've been battling a few symptoms. How's that been going?
Oh yeah, I did. I waited. I was working part-time for the folk festival this summer, so I waited until the festival was wrapped up to get it, and I got it on a Tuesday morning, and what is it? It's Monday now. I'm still feeling it a little bit. It's better than it was, but I had a CD release show planned for Friday, and I definitely didn't expect to still be feeling it 4 days after, but get the vaccine anyways. It's worth it.
Absolutely. That's right. I mean, that's you definitely got to get it. What happened? I just lost my lights.
Uh-oh.
What happened? It's not too bad though. I'm still fine there.
You can still see ya.
Yeah, absolutely. Maria, I want to ask you a little bit about, I mean, kind of earlier on, I mean, obviously you're not a native Newfoundlander, but you've been here for quite a while. Can you talk a little bit about where you grew up and maybe the transition to Newfoundland, how that even came about and why you made the trip to Newfoundland?
Yeah, for sure. So, I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and I grew up there. I graduated high school in Edmonton, and then I moved to Brandon, Manitoba in 2010, and I did my undergrad degree at Brandon University. And while I was in Brandon, my family actually moved from Edmonton to St. John's because my stepmom started a position at Memorial University here. So I started visiting Newfoundland even though I was still living in Manitoba. And just kind of fell in love with it. It's such a beautiful place. Beautiful scenery, beautiful people, lots of music. So I already felt kind of like I had friends and I had a community here even before I lived here. And obviously, having my family here was also a huge draw because I really missed them in the few years that we did live apart. So I applied to do my master's degree at MUN here in music. And after that was finished, I was kind of already pretty well established here. And I love it. I really can't imagine living anywhere else at this point in my life because I really get to do a lot of different things. And I think it's a special place that I can, afford to live here and work exclusively as a musician and be involved in so many different types of projects all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely unique here in that sense. I mean, you know, everywhere I've been to over the years and places I've different places I've lived and I mean it's music is just different everywhere else. I mean, you can be so busy if you really want to work and I mean, especially as like a fiddle player here, for example. I mean, obviously you have more experience in that field than I do, but I'm not talking about my grade 9 6 months fiddle lesson, but I mean, as a fiddle player, I mean, there's a ton of work for somebody like yourself. I mean, obviously you're super busy and you create a lot of work for yourself. Don't get me wrong, but there has
Mhm.
to be lots of session work. I mean, we booked you with our band to play with. Like, there must be tons of opportunities like that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And fiddle is such a versatile instrument, fiddle, violin. I also play viola, which
Right.
is like a bit larger violin with lower strings. So I play in the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra and I play a lot of classical music like string quartets and stuff. But I also play in a couple kind of like bluegrass bands and a country band and a Ukrainian band and like some trad bands. And so yeah, there's just kind of all the things that I'm interested in and love doing. There's an opportunity, small little pockets of people doing all of those things in this town, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely fantastic, and you're a real pleasure to play with. I mean, it's. I remember we were just throwing songs at you, just ones you've never heard, and you're just jamming along. You're good for it. I mean, and I mean, we were even throwing in. I think what was the song? I think we doing like a Great Big Sea song. You're like, oh man, I haven't heard that since like high school
Oh my
or
goodness,
something like. And
yeah.
you're like, yeah, that song rips. Like.
Yeah,
But I mean,
it's funny, yeah.
you're obviously very creative yourself and you're well versed in just playing along and just you're good for the gig. I mean, and that goes a long way, and I think that it kind of goes secondhand to the Newfoundland kind of spirit. I mean, that's kind of the way people are here anyways. I mean, there's so many bands who are playing around, especially jam bands and stuff, that a lot of people don't even really rehearse. I mean, like, it's mostly just like, all right, we all like can get together. We all know a few chords and we can put the keys to songs and we can make things happen, which is, I mean, so yeah, you kind of just fit right into that role for sure. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It keeps it interesting. Like at this point, I probably know, a lot of the songs you're going to throw at me, but not necessarily all of them. So it's kind of like a skill to see if I can is my brain firing quick enough to like pick up on
Well,
everything
I was throwing
in the
original
moment?
songs at you. I'm sure that you'd never heard before. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, I was all good. And I remember the second night you just had the songs nailed. It was incredible. Really, really fun to
Well,
watch and
I
fun to play with.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
was
no, I
awesome.
had I had a blast doing those gigs. You
And
remember
we have
watching that couple on the date?
Oh man. Oh no, the awkward Tinder days. So like for people who are listening at home or watching online right now, like a funny thing that people probably don't realize, and I've told the story in person a million times, is that like people don't realize like how much stuff you see or hear from the stage. Like what I always laugh at about from the stage is that people think there's like this big barrier from the stage to the
Right.
table that's in front of you. I'm like, bud,
Like they can't
you're
see
only
you or
4 feet
whatever.
in front of me. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm basically sitting at the table with you. I can hear everything you're saying. I can
Yeah.
tell you that if you tell me I suck or my fly is down or whatever, and I can also see your hilarious Tinder date. I mean, and
Oh my
that was really,
goodness.
I mean, I'd met you, in briefly a couple times, but obviously we shared the stage that night, and I remember like that was a good laugh. It was kind of like a good icebreaker. Me and you
Oh
were having a
yeah.
good laugh at that, right?
Cracking
Just
up.
just watching
It's
this
like
cringe-worthy Tinder date.
the best people watching you'll ever do is on stage, especially downtown, like on George Street or
Yeah, of
something.
course, of course. I mean, you definitely see it all down there, and some of it's just so cringy. Marie, I
Definitely.
want to talk a little bit about your family. I mean, obviously your family's very involved in music. Can you talk a little bit about that and you know, the kind of upbringing with the musical family that you have?
Yeah, for sure. So I clearly have been kind of immersed in this my whole life. My parents decided I was going to play the fiddle before I was even born. So they had bought me this like little tiny violin. And my mom played the violin, so that's kind of how that came about. And I kind of grew up doing like some classical music and some Ukrainian music. My dad's always been really interested in Ukrainian folk music and Ukrainian folk instruments. And so we're like, our family's of Ukrainian descent. We were all born in Canada, but in Western Canada, there's a giant Ukrainian community. So we grew up really like in that community, and we knew a lot of other Ukrainian people and went to Ukrainian events and stuff all the time. And then, somewhere along the way, I just kind of decided, oh yeah, like, okay, I like the violin. I guess I'll stick with this. So I decided I wanted to study it at school. And so I went the classical route and I studied classical music and I really love playing in symphony orchestras, and I was part of like the National Youth Orchestra a couple times. And so I kind of really like delved into that world for a while. And now since I've been out of my master's, I'm kind of like gone a bit in the other direction. I still adore classical music, but I'm definitely gigging more often with folk bands and stuff. But one of my bands is my Ukrainian band, which actually is run by my dad, and my brother is also the drummer in that band. So it's cool to kind of like see it come full circle and you know, be yeah. Who would have thought we're living in Newfoundland and we're playing in a Ukrainian like sort of like punk folk
It
kind of
is, yeah,
band.
exactly, exactly. I mean, Gogol Bordello, the band.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
love them.
I mean, when I listen to Kubasonics, it's kind of similar vibe. I mean, it's kind of that, like thrashy, punky, upstrokey music that is just,
Yeah.
like it's easy to dance to, it's easy to vibe to. I mean, I've seen Kubasonics a bunch of times, and it's like you might not even know the songs, but it's such an enjoyable atmosphere. It's just such a great experience to take in, whether you know the songs or not, because it's just upbeat. It's you're dancing, you're driving. It's really really fun. Um,
Yeah.
I
And it's
definitely want.
really cool. It's cool to see like, people like yourself say that, because most of the songs are, I think all of the songs that we play these days are like all we've sung in Ukrainian. So, it's not like people are there for the lyrics, but it's awesome that like, something about the energy and the just the vibe of it really does appeal to people here. And that's awesome.
Well, I mean,
Really.
it's something different. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't say it's ever been done before here in Newfoundland. Not that I know of. I'm sure you maybe you know different, but I mean, it's the first that I can really remember in my time, especially as a musician or somebody in the scene. And it's really neat to watch. And I mean, I think Newfoundlanders especially have always been really open to music and genres. I mean, but it's really fun to see something a little bit different that it brings out the people, it brings out happiness in people, it's just super fun. It's just really, really, really fun and enjoyable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to my knowledge, I don't think that
There's definitely no like
ever,
Ukrainian thrash bands. Like
no, I don't think
I don't
so.
even know if there's any Ukrainian people in Newfoundland. Is there?
There's really not that many, and that's kind of like the hugest culture shock for me. And like honestly, the thing I miss the most about home is just like being a part of that community that I mentioned, and like um having people around you that kind of shared all of those things. I used to do Ukrainian dancing, and I went to like Ukrainian language school and Ukrainian church and like all these different things. And so like yeah, obviously none of that really exists here. My family's found some kind of other, like, people of Eastern European descent. There's a few other Ukrainian families, and there's a large Greek community here that we're kind of friends with as well and stuff. So kind of all the people that are a little bit different,
Right, right.
kind of grouped together, I guess. But no such thing as like the giant Ukrainian communities. I mean, like I'd go to Ukrainian festivals with like tens of thousands of people back in Manitoba and stuff. So
It must be kind of invigorating and also pleasing to kind of be the fire starter behind that. I mean, I know you guys do like the Ukrainian New Year's and you put off big shows like that, which is, really celebrating that culture, which is very, very unique and something that Newfoundlanders are not used to. So it must be kind of fun to really, expose people to that, right?
it really is. And it's, as much as I miss the community, it's also really unique to experience it in a different way where like suddenly I'm the one that knows these traditions, and I can kind of like share them with my friends and with the community in general. And it's really fun to see people kind of respond to that stuff. And it makes me feel really privileged that I have the opportunity to share that, because you're right. I think a lot of people here probably would never celebrate Ukrainian New Year's in their lives if it wasn't for this.
And
So
I'd be willing to bet that there's a ton of people that look forward to that, like that type of thing now. I mean, that it's been a little bit of a tradition of theirs. You know what I mean? Maybe they met their significant other at a Kubasonics show. I mean that, right? I mean, and now it's like,
yeah,
now it's a whole thing for them that they
yeah.
probably it would never have crossed their mind in their lives. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend who she's been coming to my place for Ukrainian Christmas dinner, which is so we celebrate everything in January on the Julian calendar. So Ukrainian Christmas happens on the 6th and 7th, and then Ukrainian New Year's happens about a week later. And she just knows she books the next day off work every
All
year
right.
now because you're gonna eat a lot of pierogies and drink a lot of vodka, and you might need a day off.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
um, you guys just released a new single with the Kubasonics, Kalina.
Kalina, yes.
Yes, I nailed
You
it.
got
Yeah, I'm
it.
so psyched. Yeah, I was working on that one. Can you talk a little bit about that single? I know you guys released a video, filmed here at Holland Nurseries. Really, really fun video. Just super energetic, just like the way the band is. Can you talk about that song a little bit and the new release?
Absolutely. So it's really it's exciting for me to finally be able to talk about this, because we actually started recording our new album almost 2 years ago, and just, the way that things have gone down in the world in the last year and a half has put like kind of stretched everything out a lot. But it's nice to finally be releasing so this is our first single from the album, and it's a Ukrainian folk song that Kalina means cranberries. So it's a type of like high bush cranberries. And my Ukrainian is not great, but it's uh you know something about girls, I'm sure, and this and that. But the really cool thing is that we combined that with a Newfoundland tune by Emile Benoit called
Oh,
Breakwater
cool.
Boys Breakdown, and Irish tune called The Star Munster, which kind of has a similar melody a little bit to the Ukrainian song. And so Darren Brown, who plays guitar in the band, like he and I also play a ton of like trad music together and stuff. And it was just in rehearsal one day. My brother and I kind of had come up with the idea for the arrangement of this song, and we were playing it, and I was just like, wait, what is that tune? So I like played a bit for Darren, and we kind of like went into it, and we were like, you know what, maybe we can fit that in there somewhere too. So it's really neat to kind of get to combine some of the things that we're interested in. And I think we play the trad tunes kind of unlike you've maybe ever heard them before either, because we're adding, of course, drums and electric guitar. And my dad's playing a Ukrainian instrument called the timbala, which is a hammered dulcimer. And so, probably the first time that Emile Benoit has ever been played in exactly that formation either.
No, that's really neat to kind of combine those things. I mean, with Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian music on top of historic Newfoundland fiddle playing. I mean, that's really, really neat. Cool. I never realized that. That's a really neat fact. So there's a new album on the way for Kubasonics as well, or
yeah, so
we're still working on it.
Release date to be determined, but we're hoping sooner than later, like maybe before the end of the calendar year. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to checking that out for sure. Another newest group you have, Flower Hill. I know you guys were part of the folk festival. The kind of dialed back in the folk festival is interesting this year. Actually, I'd like to get your take on the folk festival and how that all kind of, and how it is still working. Is it over right now?
It's over for the in-person events. I think there may be some online stuff coming in the fall, and the regular folk festival or folk art society events like folk night and stuff. But the festival, personally, I thought it was really incredible how I can't take credit for any of that because I just came on in a sort of like summer position to help out with marketing, but they really planned a festival that sort of like spread throughout the community. So there was events at the Rooms and in Bannerman Park and at Kitty Vitty Brewery and the Munn Botanical Gardens. And so a lot of the events were free or very cheap to get in. A lot of them were still outdoors, family friendly, so it actually kind of brought the spirit of the festival, and they spread it out over like all 4 weeks of July. So it also gave people more time to check things out. If they were maybe out of town on a specific weekend, there was events continuing on. So I hope that that's something that we see continue. I cannot wait to get back to the regular festival in Bannerman Park either, but I think that some of this outreach stuff was really fun. So hopefully that a little bit of that can continue into like years coming as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see that maybe small tidbits of that maybe featured as well. I mean, I would say a lot of people, I mean, especially like the Munn Botanical Gardens, and I know the gazebo and stuff like that. I mean, that's really, really like kind of different stuff, but really fun and enjoyable. I mean, for the family, for easy to get out to. I mean, like you say, especially with COVID and everything, everyone's still a little skeptical. So nice that you're outside. You're not crammed into a smaller area where you're forced to kind of be unsocially distant, say, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the Botanical Gardens was fun. I've been there a few times for the when they do all the Christmas lights. And I got there for this. I was like, oh yeah, there's plants here. Because every time I've always been in the winter, it's always under snow and stuff. But it was really lovely. I, would watch a bit of the show and then wander off and go down a path and follow the music back until I found my way back. So it was it was a beautiful kind of like relaxing time for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really lovely. It's just great to see. I mean, especially after last year with everything being canceled, and I mean, it's just a great kind of segue, and hopefully we're back for 2022 with the full festival. I mean, it was great to kind of a little transitional year. Still got to feature some great artists. I mean, and yourself included. That's kind of where the question was going with with Flower Hill. I kind of got distracted, which got you off.
Yes, me too.
But with Flower Hill, can you talk a little bit about Flower Hill? Who's involved and what the songs are and what you guys are kind of doing?
Yeah, So Flower Hill is myself, Sherry Ryan, and Andrea Monroe, and we kind of do like folk, country, bluegrass. The band's actually been on the go for a while in a few different formations, but for the past few years, it's just been the three of us. So we're really running with the kind of like female trio, kind of inspired by, I guess, like Dolly, Amy Lou, and Linda, the original trio. And so, yeah, we do a lot of Dolly Parton. We do some Gillian Welch. We do some Townes Van Zandt, like all kinds of stuff, just a lot of our favorite songs. And we all bring a few like originals to the band as well.
Right, right. And I know you guys performed for the folk festival. You also did was there an arts and culture center tour in there somewhere?
We did, yeah. So that was actually one of the things that we got rescheduled for because we were originally supposed to go in the very beginning of March, and then the province kind of went back into lockdown. So they rescheduled us for May, and we had an absolutely brilliant time. It was so much fun. We were treated so well, and we had great turnouts across the island, which was awesome to see because it was really up in the air. We weren't sure
Yeah.
how people felt about going out to shows, but we were really well received in every venue and town, so it was great.
I was kind of creeping your social media a little bit before this, and
Oh, good.
yeah, no, nothing bad, nothing bad. Well, it just kind of made me think of it just now. I wasn't even going to ask you about it, but it made me think of it because I think it was a post about a Flower Hill gig in a theater, and you mentioned some, social anxieties with touring and stuff like that. Is that kind of still present in your life? I mean, or is it kind of changed a little bit since, or how has that changed kind of since COVID as well? I mean, has that changed anything mentally or?
I mean, it's interesting because I think like as a professional musician, you kind of have all these like benchmark things that you feel like you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to put out an album and you're supposed to go on tour and you're supposed to do all these things. And I love the idea of touring. And don't get me wrong, I do love touring, but you know, I've also really enjoyed being close to home for the past year and a half.
I know,
And
isn't it crazy how much that has changed in my life? Sorry, I'm not going to cut you off, but
no, it's okay.
I feel the exact same way. I'm like, ever since I've been home, I'm like, ooh, I kind of like it here more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, the like touring can be really exhausting too. And, especially touring with a larger band, like when I'm on the road with Kubasonics, like we have, so much gear. And if you're, loading all that in, you got to get there hours early, load it all in, sound check it. And then after the show's over, like you jump around for 2 hours and then you got to pack it up and like crawl on the roof of the van and strap everything into the like box on top and then like drive somewhere, sleep for a few hours, get up and drive again. And it's like, it does really get to you after a while. And I think, it's no secret that I am a bit of an anxious person. And I kind of realized like, oh yeah, I think all of that really does just kind of like, does make me a bit anxious. But I also think that like, I've had a lot of self-discovery in the last like year and a half as well. And so I think that, I maybe have more tools to deal with that as well and kind of advocate more for what I need. It's hard to sleep well and eat well and drink enough water and, all these things too. And I know that if I do all those things, like I'm already doing a lot better for myself. So there's definitely things that I want to continue to implement, like if and when I do get back on the road more regularly, for sure. But I think there's also no shame in, like I play a lot of gigs locally, and I enjoy that too. And there's no shame in saying, you know what, the being on the road all the time isn't for me. And so, I think it's something that I'll always do, but I don't know if that's ever something I would do full time, get up and leave and go for 9 months at a time. It seems like a lot, but
Yeah. You mentioned a couple real neat things there that I just thought of. One of them especially is I mean, this list could go on for days, but I mean, a lot of things that I mean, especially just an average person who has no idea about touring or performing music professionally realizes that, sometimes 90% of the gig is before and after the stage. I mean, it's the performance part is sometimes just you're so used to that part. That it's just it kind of happens, it just flows. But it's what's so mentally draining and physically draining as well is all the parts around the touring is like you
Hmm.
say, sleeping in a different spot every night for probably less sleep than you're used to, not eating properly because you got to eat fast. You're just grabbing something quick and you're eating shit food. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you're not drinking enough water. And then, like you say, you have to show up at these venues. Then you're just sitting around for a couple hours waiting for the gig to start. Then after you're loading in, you're loading out. I mean, and then you're driving. It's like,
Hmm.
it's an unhealthy lifestyle, especially if you can fall into a rut where you just, whatever, you just kind of trying to get it done at some point.
Yeah. No, and then at a certain point, you're like, man, all I've done is eat like pub food and beer and coffee
Yeah,
for like 2 weeks. No wonder my body feels
I
like
know.
shit.
Yeah, like,
Like,
give me a fucking carrot here, man. Like,
yes. Yeah, no. I'm lucky though, like I think the more that you tour with people too, and I've toured a fair bit with Kubasonics and a fair bit with Flower Hill as well, at this point, and you kind of start to get to know each other, and like you learn to take care of each other a little bit. There was this point actually during our Arts and Culture Center tour where we got back to the hotel and Sherry was just like feeding me in the hotel room and she's like, if I don't do this, you're just not gonna eat. I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. I'll take the crackers.
another thing you mentioned too, which I've found very interesting, for myself included, and so many people that I've chatted with, is the time for self reflection over the last year and a half. I mean, it's kind of been like a big reset. I mean, not for like on the grander scale of things, but for a lot of smaller things. I mean, a lot of people have just reset themselves, and like you mentioned, it's so nice to be home. And that's something that I had never done. I'm such an out person. I don't hang out at home. I'm always out. I mean, whether I'm gigging or I'm hanging out with buddies or I'm playing sports or playing music or rehearsing or whatever, you're just always on the go.
Oh
And I just
yeah.
found this time during this lockdown that I'm like, it was so peaceful that I'm like, I have to make sure that I have a part of this for the rest of my life. I have to make sure I do this because if anything, it's just cleansed my brain from the social clutter of conversation, small talk with random people, or just
Hmm.
being socially inept with having to have conversations with people or being present. Where sometimes it's just so nice to just be able to shut it all off and reset the brain. You mentioned that, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it really made me realize, I mean, I went straight from high school to my undergrad, straight to a master's degree, and kind of straight out of a master's degree. I actually had started a second master's here at MUN and dropped out a year into that because I was just too busy with performing and teaching and everything I was doing already. And so it kind of made me realize, I'm like, oh man, I haven't stopped moving for like 10 or 11 years here. Like, I really needed the break. I was really burnt out. And now, I can kind of feel that creeping back in, but
I know.
I'm trying to do exactly that and be like, no, like, you know what? I still want to take time and yeah, exactly, do those things. And there's so many things like, I think being a musician obviously consumes so much of your identity and I joke whenever people ask me like what my hobbies are. I'm like, well, violin. I don't know. Like that's about it. But it's not true. Like, I collected about 50 houseplants over the last year. If you've seen my social media, I adore my cat. I love to cook and bake, like especially a lot of Ukrainian food. I love to paint and draw and there's so many things that I just didn't have the time to do. And so, yeah, I think it's important for all of us to kind of just, if we all prioritize it and all kind of put our foot down and be like, no, like, I'm not going to work 80 hours a week and have no time for anything else, you know? And it's
Welcome,
easy to
welcome to
do.
August for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And it's hard because like as a musician too, you're like you take the gigs as they come and
Exactly.
you know, I personally like there's very few gigs that I do that I don't want to be at, you know?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
it's so hard for me to say no, like not only because I don't want to let people down, but also just because I want to do it all. Like I truly enjoy like basically everything that I do, and it's hard sometimes to prioritize things and, you know, take that time for
There's a
yourself.
fine balance I find as well. I mean, we're obviously in a little bit of different position, whereas I do a lot of like pub gigs solo and stuff. And to me, I find them, a lot of them are very mentally draining. I mean, especially this time of year when it's tour season, but there's
Mm,
also a fine balance where I'm trying to pay my bills as well. So I'm like, at some point, it really becomes an actual job. I mean, where it's like, you're kind of like, it is what it is. I'm happy to be playing music as that part of my job, but it
yeah.
definitely it wears on you a bit for sure. And that's why it's always so nice to get together with, I mean, like when myself and yourself and Robert did a gig. I mean, to me, that's just so enjoyable to get up and play music with your friends, and it's such a relief, you know. So it's August is coming in hot here for me. So
Oh, I 100% agree. And you know, playing solo is something that I've really only started to do dabble in the past year, and I feel that it's so much more work when you're all by yourself, and even having one other person on stage to kind
oh
of
man,
bounce things off of is you know, at the very least if the gig sucks, you can commiserate together about
together,
it, you know?
exactly,
But
you nailed
generally
it.
if you have someone else there, it's not going to suck because you just, you know, you got each other and you're going to have a fun time anyways.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's challenging for sure, and it always, yeah, it's all. I mean, music is always better when you're playing with somebody else. I mean, it's
Exactly.
it's going to sound better, it feels better, you know. It's just it's better overall,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah.
meant to be done together.
Um, you have a really new cool collection out. I mean, you know, this is kind of, you know, one of the, not only, I mean, we've chatted before, and I mentioned that I would love to have you on as a guest, but it kind of came in perfect timing because you've just released a new collection, Home from Away, a collection of sheet music and illustrations for original fiddle tunes. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, what that project entailed, and all the cool little things that you've done with it.
Yeah. So I was actually really lucky in the spring of last year in 2020. I received a grant. It was through Music NL, I think, in partnership with the government or something, and they were, you know, finding ways to kind of like inject a bit of money into artists in Newfoundland to help through COVID. So you kind of had to submit a proposal for a project that you could do throughout COVID. That was something different, like not just, you know, an album, like a CD or something.
This is the project, by the way. What we're doing right now. This is also my project from that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Love
funded from
that.
Music NL, and I just kept it rolling. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's great. So, you know, putting out a book, I've been writing original fiddle tunes for a couple of years now, and putting out a book was something that I always thought would be interesting. But it kind of came about perfectly because I was like, well, that's easy to do over COVID, you know. I just have to get all the sheet music prepared. And so I hired my friend Caroline Clark, who's a local artist, and she illustrated the whole book. And we kind of worked together. I kind of explained like the you know, the inspiration for some of the tunes or you know, who they're dedicated to or something. And she created some illustrations to kind of go along with that. And I just absolutely love her artwork. And she did a really beautiful job. Like, you know, in a way, it felt like a little bit like, you know, I was hiring someone to, you know, paint a book of my life because there's so much symbolism and like things that are important to me. So it's like personally it's a really special thing even if nobody ever bought it. Like I'm so just thankful to have it because I think it's really beautiful. But I think it's interesting too to kind of like go that extra step and have it illustrated because I wanted it to be, you know, kind of a work of art and something that, you know, a book of sheet music is a pretty niche thing, but this way, you know, even if maybe you don't play the fiddle or you don't read music super well, there's still something for you to enjoy if you wanted to buy the book, because there's a bunch of really beautiful pictures in it as well. So I released that book. We worked on it through the summer last year, and I released it last November. And then I actually went into the studio with Robert and recorded all the tracks. So like there's 16 tunes in the book. So we recorded all 16 tunes with my band. We're called Jockey Special. And it's myself and Darren Brown, who's also in the Kubasonics, and Josh Ford. And we recorded all of that, and then I did nothing about it for several months, but I finally got my act together and got some CDs pressed. So I just released those this past Friday. So those are available now. They're separate from the book, so you can buy one or the other, or I have a deal as well if you want both of them, and I have some stickers. I'll throw it all in together.
Calvin stickers, right?
Calvin stickers, you bet. So there's a tune that I wrote from my cat Calvin, and his brother is named Kit. I don't own his brother, but I follow him on Instagram. Yeah. So actually, so Kit's owner found he was also adopted in Newfoundland, but they since moved to Nova Scotia, and she found me on Instagram. She's like, you know what? I think my cat's brother is your cat. I was like, you're totally right. By the way, I hope this isn't super creepy, but I wrote a fiddle tune for your cat. So here's a book and here's a sticker with your cat's face on it. And I was like, she's never going to speak to me again. She's going to think I'm
funny,
like
man.
Totally nuts. But she was like, no way, that is the best thing ever. So
of course, as you would. I mean,
Yeah.
you just randomly found out that there was a tune written about your cat that you had no idea of.
Yeah.
I think anybody would love that,
Yeah. So we stay in touch. We just stay in touch over the internet, and it's funny. We share pictures back and forth. Our cats are totally the same
Right.
creature. So it's great.
What was I going to say then? Yeah. The title. I love the title. What did you come up with? How did you come up with that?
It was kind of like
It's like a homage to Come From Away, kind of, right?
Exactly. I was thinking about Come From Away, and obviously we all know the show Come From Away, but it's also just the term for people like me that aren't from here. But I think that I've thought a lot about the fact that, I could live in Newfoundland 50 years and I'll still be from away because I wasn't
Right.
born here. But at the same time, I feel like I have such a home here and I have such a community of people. So it's I was kind of trying to find a way to blend those kind of ideas of there's a lot of parts of me that are influenced by, my Ukrainian heritage and growing up on the prairies. But there's also a lot of me that is influenced by, I've been in Newfoundland for 6 years now, and the majority of my adult life has been connected to Newfoundland. So it is home in a lot of ways as well. So hopefully nobody takes offense to that.
I don't think they will. I think I think we're all happy to have you here. I think you make this place a little bit better for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm so happy to be here.
Big congratulations on the sheet music book. I mean, and the CD. I mean, both extensive works of art that are definitely challenging, especially with COVID. I mean, hats off to you, and best of luck with that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much.
How was the release show? I know you did it. I know you mentioned it earlier a little bit in the episode, but I know you just released it. I mean, we're recording here. It's Monday, August 9th. This will be out on Wednesday, but the last weekend you released it at the Black Sheep, right?
At the Black Sheep. Yeah. So it was funny. It was actually I had booked that show just for something to do. And then it kind of occurred to me a few weeks ago. I was like, you know what? I should really just get those dang CDs out. And so I kind of just turned it into a release show at the last minute. It was a lot of fun. was really hot. It was so hot that day. Like I was just sweating buckets up there.
And on top of it, you weren't feeling well, like I
And
guess.
I wasn't feeling
Yeah.
well either. So it was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, in hindsight, I would not release another album in the summer just because it's too hot. And also, like, you know, a lot of people are out of town
Yeah, yeah.
and busy with other things in the summer. So, you know, it's a busy time. Like, it was a busy time for myself. And, you know, in the future, I would definitely maybe wait till the fall, just when things kind of quiet down a bit. But I'm certainly glad to have it out there. And I'll actually be playing at Folk Night on this Wednesday coming up as well with
This Wednesday
Baron.
coming up, as in the 11th,
Yeah,
which
the
is
day
which
this
is
comes out.
which is today, folks. You are listening to this right now. So
Yeah,
if you
so
are, yeah, head on down and see Maria. Yeah.
9 p.m. at the ship for Folk Night. So you can grab a CD or a book or a sticker
Man, how weird is
if you come down
Newfoundland?
there.
How weird is Newfoundland weather? It's like, I think yesterday, which is Sunday. I mean, obviously we're recording on Monday, but I think yesterday it was like 28 degrees in the afternoon. And when I finished my gig last night at 10, it was like 7 degrees.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's like
yeah.
20-degree drop off. Like,
It's insane. I had to close all my windows because I was shivering
I
last
know.
night. It's so crazy.
Yeah, the humidity is I mean, we're just not built for it here. I mean, I always laugh at the people who are like, you can't complain because you know what the weather's gonna be like in February. I'm like, I don't
I can still complain.
I know I can still complain. I'm gonna complain about the weather in February too. I mean,
Yes,
that's what makes us connect here in this
exactly.
weird little frozen rock out in the North Atlantic.
Exactly.
You mentioned Folk Night, which is tonight for anybody who's listening. Any other neat shows coming up or anything else on the schedule?
Yeah, Kubasonics are headed to Woody Point next week for
Oh,
the
lucky. I'm so
Writers
jealous.
at Woody Point Festival. So that's going to be really fun. We're doing a couple different shows there with Kubasonics, and I think I'm also playing, I'm going to be doing a set of fiddle tunes and stuff with Tom Power, who's going to be in emceeing. So he sent me a note a few weeks ago because they wanted him to do something. He's like, if you want to play some tunes, let's just do it together. So I don't know what we're going to do yet, but that should be fun as well. And I'm hoping to spend a couple days in Grossmorn before heading back, and then I'm going to be playing at Lanya Vanya with Kelly McMichael, who also just put out a album this past spring, which is incredible. I've known her for a long time, but I've never played in her band before, so I'm excited to do that as well. So yeah, a couple cool things coming up, and my band, the Old Contemporaries, plays. We play bi-weekly at both Bannerman Brewery and Kitty Vitty Brewery, so we've been doing that all spring and summer, and so we got a couple more of those coming up before the end of the month, I believe, as well. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
lots on the go. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's good to be busy. It's good to be busy. Back in the saddle. I like it.
Hmm.
Anybody who's listening, Maria, where can we find some information on yourself, the new release, Kubasonics and Flower Hill?
So all of the above have pages on Facebook and Instagram and all those usual things. My Bandcamp and my my online store where you can buy the books and the CDs if you're interested, and also the
Sorry, where was that? Something just happened. I lost you just for one quick second.
oh,
Where can we find for the
sorry.
book? Yeah, no, I think it was something on my
Um
end.
Okay, yeah. Just on my website, mariacherwick.com, there's be
Perfect.
links that take you to the online store, and also you can download a digital copy of the tracks from Bandcamp as well. And same goes for Kubasonics. Kubasonics is up on, Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere you stream things, and also available for download on Bandcamp. And we should have physical copies of that full CD, and we're doing vinyl, and we have Judd Haynes working on the artwork for us, and there's some really cool stuff happening. We're going to have some limited edition vinyl coming at you and stuff too.
Oh,
So
nice. Looking
stay
forward to
tuned.
checking that out. Yeah.
Stay tuned for that for sure. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, thanks again, Maria. I really appreciate you taking the time today to jump on and have a little chat with me. Looking forward to catching up in a few weeks. We're doing a little gig together in a few weeks. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
And best of luck with everything coming up in the next few weeks. And we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Great to chat with you.
All right, we'll chat with you soon.
Bye.
Huge thanks to Maria Cherwick for coming on. What a treat. I mean, she's so sweet and awesome to chat with. She has a really, really cool story, and that's the whole point of this podcast, is to get people who I think have great, interesting stories on, who want to come on and have a chat and just talk about what they're up to and what they're doing and what they're at to keep busy. So yeah, big thanks to Maria. Make sure you do check out all the cool things she's up to and all the great bands. Huge thanks to her. That about does it for me, guys. Make sure if you're out around at the end of the summer, come check out a Dawnies gig. And you guys know where to find me on all my social media, at Dave Whitty, Instagram, same with Twitter, Dave Whitty Music on Facebook, and make sure you like and subscribe my YouTube channel. That about does it for me, guys. From downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, I'm Dave Whitty. Peace.